We share. Oh, take a ride with me.
Hi, my name is Mosi Mosugu. Someone asked me what my job is. I was in the plane one day. Someone asked me what my job is. I said it depends on the day of the week, actually. So I'm a pastor with Savannah Ministries, but I'm also a network engineer, and I'm also involved in several other companies as an entrepreneur. I think I mostly identify as a network engineer because computers had always been my first love. Studying mathematics in ABU, and I'm currently studying economics in Open University. So and I think it's been an interesting journey, evolving in all these different roles that I find myself in these days. What I want to talk about today is about fear. But before I talk about that, let me tell you an interesting story my wife is always using to yap me. I don't even think I've never really told her the story, but I keep on telling her that I'll tell her why. But one day, we just got married. We were inside our small kitchen. We had this BQ we were renting. We're inside our small kitchen, and so it's a confined space. And she, when you've left the oil in the frying pan on the fire for too long, then put something inside and the fire goes whoosh. So I was sitting with her, and she did that, and I can't remember what she put on the fire. Frankly, we were just talking, and the fire just went whoosh. So she turned to find me, and she did not see me in the kitchen. No, but several years before, a couple of years before, that was before we were married, because we were just newlyweds then. This was around, this story with my wife happened around 2002 or so, yeah. But in 2000 there was a riot in Kaduna, a religious one. And I didn't know about it. I was in Sharia, and I was hurrying to come back because my dad's birthday was the next day. So I was hurrying to come back. So along Sharia Kaduna Road, we saw cars with smashed glasses, and all whatnot, turning back and going back to Sharia, or coming from Kaduna. And the bus driver said that, look, he's not going any further. So I was walking with my friend from another faith. He's a Muslim actually, and we're friends, very good friends for that matter. And so two of us alighted from the bus, and we said we're going to just keep on walking until we find a cab, because we're not too far. We are past Jaji. We're just maybe 10 or 15 kilometers to Kaduna. So we're like, Kaduna that we just left, what could be happening? So I'm walking, we're both walking, and somebody I see this boy with this very long stick. Long, it's not even a stick, it's like a club or something, long and dragging on the floor. And for whatever reason, he just pointed towards me, and I was like, Allahu Akbar. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what to answer. I don't even know what that means. So I remember just turning and looking at my friend, and he was holding his tasbih, and we were walking. And I could see in his eyes, was like, guy, just run. I could see the helplessness and I can't help you. So I started running. And all of a sudden, on a quiet road, their cars were just turning back. There was this scenario of me running and 20 or so boys chasing me. It was surreal. I can't describe it. It's just surreal. 1 minute you're just having a nice chat with your friend, and the next minute you're the victim of a chase. So I ran, and these boys, of course, there was no way I could outrun 20 or so boys, and they began to beat me black and blue. So they beat me. Then, as if it was not enough, then that guy with that stick, I've not forgotten, And I kept saying, you can't really, really sincerely want to hit a perfect stranger with this stick. You don't even know anything about me. And they cleared, he seemed to be some kind of gang leader, because they cleared the road for him. And he swung the stick at me and cracked my skull. So if you look at my head, you see that one side is indented compared to the other one. And everything they say in the cartoons is true. Everywhere just went black. I was just seeing stars. I didn't see anything anymore. But by the time I came to I got my vision back, I saw a guy with a cutlass wanted to behead me. And I just remember saying to myself, I am not dying like this today. And just when I said that to myself, somebody grabbed the guy's hand and stopped him. I don't speak Hausa, so I don't remember exactly what stopped him. But nonetheless, I was dragged across the road to a school. I remember the shirt I was wearing. I think that shirt hung in my cupboard for a long time. I must have looked so terrible, because when they dragged me into the school, all the students just started screaming and running. And sometimes I just imagine what I looked like. Everybody, all the kids were scared. And so that was like the first part of the ordeal. Then the second part of the ordeal was everything that happened after that. I was so thirsty. I remember that feeling of being so thirsty. And I began to beg in whatever strength I had for water. Please give me water. They would beg, what is it? I said, water. And everybody refused to give me water for whatever reason. They said I would die if I drink water. And I'm thinking, if I would die if I don't drink this water. So finally, there was a medical student that also was, they're all kind of entrapped there for whatever reason. He said, it's okay, just give him water. So that's when, after about an hour or two, that's when they gave me water, and I drank water. And then I had an uncle in NTI. So they were wondering what to do with me, and I said I have somebody there, and they carried me there. And I remember getting into the place. They took me to the hospital there. And the hospital, what I saw, I began to beg that I don't want to be there any longer, because they were maimed people, hands cut off, legs cut off, just terrible injuries. I could not even, as bad as I might have looked, I don't even know what I look like, but I began to beg, I can't stay here, I can't be seen this. So they just patched me up, and I was in my uncle's house. By that time, they had gotten a call through to my parents, through my other uncle, who was a GOC then. The army truck came to pick me up. So they picked me up and brought me to town. This was nighttime. And when I saw the truck, I was like, great, I'm going back home, They just dropped me at the nearest barrack, just at Kawo. The name escapes me now. And I was pushed into this hospital ward. But there was so much mayhem going on that Nobody had time for me. Nobody had time. Nobody even looked at me. No, I can't remember anybody attending to me. I remember just lying down on the bed and saying, Mosi, if you don't get up, you will die. You will die. And so later that evening, they brought a meal which was boiled yam and stew. And I remember thinking, how in the world am I going to eat this with my battered mouth? Anyway, I pushed myself up from the bed, began to shuffle, literally just shuffling in the hospital and carrying my plate of yam and begging someone to give me bread instead, so that I could dip the bread in, in water or something and just, I can't even say eat it, but just swallow it. So I think finally I did get somebody and they swapped it out, I remember I just went back to bed and I passed out. So in the morning, when I woke up, there was so much pandemonium because of what had happened the day before, and so I was like, I thought this is a hospital. I thought someone would attend to me. No doctor had come, no nurse. So obviously they were overwhelmed. So I remember just thinking that same thought. And by this time, I was really in a mess. I was like, I defecated on myself. I was just in a bad state. And I said to myself again, Mosi, if you don't get up, you're just going to die on this bed. Nobody's going to know. Nobody has your time. I remember pushing myself up bed again. I shuffled to the door of the ward. There was, I don't even believe there was anybody in the ward. Everybody was outside trying to, just pandemonium everywhere. And I shuffled and I came out. And just in this sea of people, I was just looking around. I was like, what am I going to do? Who am I going to call? We didn't have phones then. What am I going to call? What am I going to do? Just and God so kind. I see a member of our family church just walking by. And I just remembered with everything inside me. I knew it was not a loud shout, but with everything I was just saying, Auntie. I was just trying to lift my voice as much as I could without my mouth hurting me. And it's like she heard me or she saw me because she passed me. So she took like, 3-4 steps. Then she turned. Then looked at me and, like she just recognized me. She just shouted my name, Mosi, because I looked terrible. I looked terrible. I smelled terrible. Everything was just wrong. So she took me to her house. She lived in that barrack. So she took me to her house and cleaned me up. Gave me a husband's clothes to wear. So we waited it out. Then my father was able to finally come and get me. I remember sitting at the back of the car, and my dad and my mom too, she came along. I remember them talking about, they saw me, I could just imagine the distress. I'm a parent now, I have 2 boys. So I could imagine the distress they were in and just not knowing what state I was. I remember they got me and I remember this word my dad used. Can you imagine that all our investment will just disappear in one day? I just remember him saying that phrase, all our investment. After everything you have done to raise a child. So I got home and the next 3 months was just hospital visit after hospital visit. A teaspoon could not enter my mouth. I couldn't put a teaspoon in my mouth. It was that bad. And of course, all kinds of had to go to a dentist, I had to go to people that checked my head, guys that checked my body. But that was not the worst of it. I went to a military school, so I understand beating. I understand suffering. I've been in very, very dire, terrible situations, part of the training. I've been for bush camps, route marches, compass marches. I've been to survivor training. So maybe it was a bit more extreme, maybe unexpected, you're not prepared for it. But it was the fear after all this that remained. And I remember in my house, after about a month of medicals, 2 months, I remember attempting that, look, I have to get out of the house. I'm tired of staying in the house. And I remember my first attempt to go out of the house, and my parents lost it. I mean, they were shrieking. My mom was shrieking. My father was shouting because of fear. Because of fear. They were literally afraid of me leaving the house. And in many ways, that fear came upon me. I remember that after the 3rd month, I had to call my parents. I said, see, this is not going to work. I understand I'm your child, but I'm a grown man. And I cannot keep looking behind me forever. I can't. I said, so the only solution is I overcome this fear, or we as a family overcome this fear rather, or we leave this town. Well, I believe I made my point, and I believe they saw reason to my point, as much as the emotion was still there. But for them, they only had to deal with me leaving the house and if something happening to me, etc., etc. But for me, everything was scary. Everything. If I'm walking on the road and the tire should burst, I will literally have to grit my teeth and hold myself. If it's raining and the thunder should clap, oh my God, I'll have to hold something. My body will cringe. It's almost, I think sometimes they call it flight of fear or something like that. I just want to run from everything that in any way constitutes a danger to me. And I never told anybody this. Actually, I think this is the first time I'm telling somebody. At least publicly. So, well, I did marry. My wife didn't know that. No. My wife was the first person I called after the incident. Her office had a telephone, so I remember the number and I was able to call her. And that's how I got to my parents, when everything was going on from NTI. But I hate this. I hate this from people because I was brought up, I'm a military boy. I was brought up hard. I was brought up tough. And it was almost shameful to be, and I'm the firstborn of my house. I have junior ones, It just felt so shameful to be afraid of silly things. So I kept it to myself, and that was how I married. And that's why that day in our kitchen, just during weird, I just did that. The fire went off, and I was out of that place. But I remember I had to talk to myself that, okay, Mosi, this has to stop. Everything cannot scare you. I mean, people may not know you're scared, but you are scared. And fear was dominating my life. I couldn't step out and do things I would normally have done because of fear. So I began to work on myself. I began to meditate God's word. You know, just what does the Bible say about fear? I began to talk to myself, and I won't say it happened in a week or in a month, but at least over the span of a year, I had dealt with 85, ish percent of it, and I think by 2 years, I could say confidently that those things that used to scare me didn't. But I was able to use that same principle to, be entrepreneurial, to be able to step out in a lot of things people know me for now. There are a lot of things that hold us back. They are not real. The reason people are afraid, most of it is things maybe it's in your upbringing, what they have told you you cannot do, what has been ingrained into you didn't even recognize. I could recognize it because I knew who I was before, and I know that this is not me now. And I think many times it's what people tell me the most that, okay, you've really helped me. You've really helped me not to be afraid. You've really helped me to step out, not to look at everything I have. You want to start a business and you're looking at everything has to be perfect. And I said, no, what you have is enough. And you can step out. And just in different aspects of life. I know a lot of people who are in business today because of me. They said, I'm just so bold. I'm just so audacious with the economy, with the way things are and things are going, how Nigeria is. They need to step out. I'm like, yes, because I've come to realize that experience particularly that, it feels so real. The fear feels so real. Your body will react to it. It will react, but it's still not real. And I was able to recognize that, look, this is not real. It's really an illusion. It's like you driving on a road and you see that water puddle, but as you get there that it's a mirage. It's not true. And there are a lot of untruths that people are holding there, and they're even fighting to hold these truths about life, about people, about situations. But when you really rationally weigh them, you will find out that it's not real and it's not true. And that really has helped me to divide illusion from reality. And that dividing of illusion from reality is what I also try and help people do. And to step out and be everything that God designed them to be. So my story is not about the beating, it's not about the punishment. But I think it's even, for me, like I said, it was worse than that. It was the fear that accompanied it. And I saw how fear could have kept me from maximizing my own potential. So don't be afraid. Things happen to us, that's life. But don't let the fear further ruin your life and hold you back from being the best person you can be. Thank you.